Welcome to Oh Really. This is where I usually say I haven't had a cup of coffee, which is also true this morning as I am currently on a no coffee spree. Um, Palworld. Love the game. Great game. Okay. Actually, I probably will lose access to it as I'm playing it on Game Pass right now. Payday is Friday. Tomorrow. Um, oh man, all of you morons on YouTube and everywhere else screaming up and down about how Palworld copied Pokemon. Alright, let's tackle that one first, I guess. Number one, yes, they more or less kind of did. But they did it in such a way that, legally speaking, most people who have legal experience in this field think that they're pretty well safe. Like, if Nintendo and Game Freak could have done something about it, they would have done it already. Like, that's just kind of blatantly obvious at this point. Whether you agree with it or like it or not, who cares? Your opinion doesn't matter. It only matters to people who agree with you. What actually matters to the whole industry is how many people are playing this game at about 7 to 8, probably more, probably closer to 9, because I'm not really... You know what? Let's do it. Let's do what everyone else is doing. Let's go into Steam. Alright. I'll even go into my OBS, and I will tag my Steam window so people can see this stuff. Alright. Window capture. Okay. I need to have Steam's window open. This is probably going to destroy my friggin' stream, and it's not going to work at all. So, we're not going to do it. But I can open up the stats and read them off to you anyway. Because most people are well aware of the actual number, like, literally. Okay. So let's go. Let's do it. So, for around $26, $27 US, this is an early access title, alright? Get instant early access... Get instant access and start playing, get involved with this game as it develops. Alright, so this is an early access title. I don't know of any early access titles. Where do I go to see how many people have? Very positive. 84,000 very positive reviews. Okay? Recommended. Okay, and I have to scroll down quite a ways before I find a negative review, which was made, well, today actually, and their issues are more technical, right? You know, and they are more technical. They have to do with, like, yeah, crashes mostly, and that's a lot of the complaints that I see on here is mostly just people complaining about the basic bugs. No one on Steam who's actually buying the game and actually playing the friggin' game, myself included, so before we get too far into that, I'm going to pull up a little factoid for you to see and you to understand, alright? I am an Xbox Game Pass participant, and my Game Pass gets paid tomorrow. I would like it to be paid today, but, you know, paycheck schedules. Right? Anyway, we'll go into my progress, right? Screw the achievements, let's go into my stats. I've been playing this for 3 days, 4 hours, and 50 minutes. Okay. Back to the game. So... I've kind of exceeded probably quite a few of the positive reviewers on this game on Steam. Now, before I get into criticizing this game, I'm going to say I like this game. I would highly recommend it. And anyone who doesn't recommend this game is more or less being intellectually dishonest. Yeah, there goes my Xbox Live sub. I guarantee you it's going to ask if I own this game. Or maybe it won't. Maybe it just shut off the Xbox Live part of it. Yeah, I don't have the authorization to play it because my Xbox Live ran out today. Alright. Well, I guess there goes that. Yeah. We're not going to try to force a game to play that I don't own. But yes, there you go. You saw it for yourself. Totally shut down on a live stream of Oh Really. I was watching Dantix. I think I'm saying his screen name correctly. It's up on my TV, which is a ways away. It's kind of hard to read. 10 hours ago, he made a video, and, you know, it's a good point. Like, a studio of under 100 people just made close to a couple, like, $800 million, more or less. And I'm just guessing here. The numbers could be completely different. I gotta actually figure out how to run Steam here because I'm a total noob at Steam. Like a lot of other people have. Okay, here we go. Here we go. This is what I was looking for. It's been out for a week. Okay. It is currently on Steam, $26.99. Okay. That's a funny one. It's it's a long story. Um, do they have one posting on how many copies on Steam they've sold? Well, you know what? Actually, I do have another metric we can use, and one that you guys can see too. Game card. Okay. Show in store. Let's go. Let's do it. Come on. Yeah, that could have been implemented better. The multiplayer could have been a little easier, and yeah. Like, a lot of these reviews are kind of inane, but, like, it's what people wanted. It is exactly what people wanted, alright? It is a game that the map size is comparable in size and scope to Violet and Scarlet. Alright, and this is like walking from one side to the other. And I love how the description says you can peacefully live alongside pals or risk your life to drive off Ruthless Poaching Syndicate. There's so many more options than just those two. You can enslave members of the Ruthless Poaching Syndicate, by the way. All you gotta do is lower their health and just repeatedly throw balls at them until they get caught. Like, you could have a wall of heavy gunners at your base if you want. Anyway, these people for $29.99. All right, put that number in your head for a minute. I'm gonna do this using a controller because I'm too lazy to screw with OBS. Okay. All right. My apps. I don't know if I can do this. Probably not. No. Well, maybe. Alright, let's go. Because I don't want this to show up on my searches later. It's not anything bad or anything, it's just I don't need this to show up again, ever again. Also, I'm afraid it'll do some weird cookie BS. Saying, oh, you already own this game, or some stupid thing. So let's go. Let's go here. Okay. Alright. There's the official website. There's the Nintendo website. Okay. Alright. I don't want one with the DLC. I just want the base game for a somewhat fair comparison. Alright. So, the base game. Right here. From Best Buy. $59.99. Target. $59.99. Walmart. $55.79 for a physical copy. Right? Okay, well, I don't know if palworld ever intends to release as a physical copy. Let's go here, right? $30. Okay, $30. And we can sit here and argue all day about who has the better game. I have played Scarlet all the way through to the end with the DLC. I can tell you it has bugs too. Alright? Some of them are pretty bad. I've fallen through the map and had to completely restart my game because it crashed my Nintendo Switch. And I have an OLED Switch. So before we go off on the bug tangent here, no game is exempt from bugs. No matter how small or big, they will have bugs. Alright, I'm sure Elden Ring has bugs somewhere too, if you looked hard enough. Here's the point. You're getting a game that I would actually argue is quite revolutionary in the fact that it does something that Pokemon refuses to do. Alright? Arc didn't think to do. I would actually argue that if they're infringing on anything, they're infringing on themselves for their attempt to make it so you can catch animals in Craftopia and improved on it. This is literally an improved Craftopia. It is. Craftopia, buggy, crashy, pick a word, right? This game, buggy, crashy, but still good. Craftopia was okay. I'm not going to completely dog on Craftopia. I'm sure there are people who can do that for me, if you look hard enough. Like with everything, when you want to find something, if you look hard enough, you will find it. Alright, and the fact that Craftopia has been in, game preview hell since its release back in, on this console 2021. Anyway. See in store. We'll pull up Craftopia. Alright. 3.5. Please keep the game on Game Pass. They need to put this back on Game Pass. A lot of people asking them to put it back on Game Pass. I don't even own it. And because my Game Pass expired, I can't play it. Here's the thing, and I know people are going to be like, oh, you're quoting Asmongold and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I am, because he's right. As a consumer, as a gamer, ask me how much I care about what it took to make either one of these games. I don't. The only reason that I care is the fact that palworld with under 100 people and like $10,000 to their friggin' name just made a couple $1 million off of every gamer out there. And I'm not going to call them chumps. Although I would argue that if you're a gamer, you're a chump. And by the way, I'm a gamer too, so that makes me probably one of the biggest chumps of all because I'm talking about it. Point in fact, they took $10,000 and under 100 people and made a couple $1 million. Probably more than a couple million at this point. Because if you sat down and did the math for Steam alone, yesterday's figure was, 7 million people in, 48 hours, I think it was. So in the first 48 hours of selling this thing, which isn't even the finished product, by the way, we'll round it up to 30 just to be generous to people here. Actually, we'll round down. Even at 25, is the cell phone going to come in clinch at 3%? Let's find out. Because I suck at math. Okay. Working off of yesterday's number and rounding down, again, like literally punching down so people understand this more favorably here. $25 times 7, what is that, 6 zeros here? Yep. No, that's the plus symbol, dummy. Alright, punching down by taking the number down to $25. Alright. Punching down by using yesterday's number yet again, so I'm giving double the benefit of the doubt here that, they're making this much money here. And I know that this number is within a realm of possibility. I can say at least with $10,000, these people made $175 million off of one title. And you can take that number even further, and let's say they had an even share, okay? Clear. Let's say they have 100 people on staff for shiggles. All right. So that's 175 with enough zeros to make it 175 million divided by 100 people. Okay. Now, this isn't accurate because I know they have less than 100 people on staff. I'm giving you extremely far-fetched numbers, trying to make it as little money as each person made as humanly, even being mathematically and statistically, factually inaccurate on purpose, right? To show you how this worked. They came out to $1,750,000 per person. Now, bear in mind, that's also before tax, so it could be a little these numbers actually could be pretty accurate, now that I think on the taxes. If you split the amount of income up evenly in the first 48 hours, each person that worked at that company just made close to $2 million. Okay? That's nothing to sneeze at. And the number's probably higher, a lot higher. I was being, very facetious with my numbering on that in the right direction that says, they made less than they probably did by a wide margin. Alright? You could probably sit down with the actual numbers, get the Japanese tax rates for income tax based off of how much, whatever, and if they are tax coding for the United States means that they have to go by United States taxing, then we all know that that's going to be anywhere from 30 to 50%. But here's the thing. That just sucked a whole lot of money into the country of Japan. And that's just in Steam sales. This thing also released on the Xbox. Which, while you know what? We'll bust out the keyboard for my own stupidity reasons because I forgot to charge my phone last night, and it'd be totally faster for me to do this using a phone. Let's rock. Okay. Well, actually, this might work out to my advantage. Maybe. Or maybe not. Oh well, it doesn't matter. Learn how to spell, dummy. How many? Learn how to spell, dummy. Yeah, you actually had it right that time. People are playing on the Xbox. Alright, so we're going to shrink this down so it'll fit on the screen because reasons, right? We all know what those reasons are. Okay. I don't usually pull up, like, YouTube videos and stuff, so humor me. Alright. And no, I'm not going to play another YouTuber's video content. I'm not that much of a skis bag. But we are going to use that particular window because it's the one that's open. And it's the one that'll load. Let's see here. We'll go over here. And we'll drop it right there. Right? Alright, here we go. Here we go. Okay. So I know no one cares about my opinion. And I'm not dumb enough to think, you know, that I am somehow the authority on this stuff. But I would assume Game 8, and I could be wrong about this, Game 8, I don't know if they're accurate. I don't know if they're biased on anything. I know that they have some pretty good guides. Palworld has sold 7 million copies on Steam and has a concurrent Steam player base of around 2 million. Read on to learn Palworld Steam and Xbox player count. Okay, we'll just go right down here. Alright, Steam. Player count. This is probably old data. Yeah, it is. Old data. It did 1 to 2 million players on Steam overnight. Right? Like, we all heard about that. Overtaking Counter-Strike. Now it's at 7 million copies sold. And even more that are gaming on the Xbox platforms as well as Game Pass. Microsoft has not released any player count of concurrent players on their platforms. It is difficult to estimate the exact number. However, the combined player community of the Xbox platform, as well as we can roughly estimate. Alright, do they actually post their rough estimation numbers here? They don't. No, they don't. But they say that there's an abundance. Okay. Well, I wish Microsoft would do that, because I have a feeling it's probably another 2 million at least. But I could be overstating the importance of the Xbox. But here's the thing. Here's the point. All right, that's not really the big overlying point here. The big overlying point is that it's just the end user does not care. As an end user, I can tell you, as a matter of fact, they could have absolutely 100% AI'd this game, right? 100%. Ask me if I would have cared, the answer would be no. You could replace my face with an AI-generated face, and all my comments could be generated by AI, and actually, I'm going to be honest about this one, much to my own detriment of my ego, which is probably going to plummet after I say this out loud, but you could replace my entire existence on the YouTube platform with an artificial intelligence. As long as I was getting money for that channel, using my face and my material, I would not care. I wouldn't care. No. Oh, heck no. You could take my likeness and my voice, as long as it wasn't pushing some communist BS, because we all know communism has killed more people over friggin' history than any other political system out there. Even monarchies, don't believe me, look it up. And monarchies are pretty atrocious too. And you're going to sit there and say, oh, it's not implemented right, blah, blah, blah. Then how is it supposed to be implemented, dummy? Socialism works on the concept that everyone is perfect. No one's perfect, so you're always going to have a bad system. Duh! I'm sorry, but you are literally making the perfect be the enemy of the good at that point, and you're an idiot for it. Just calling it like I see it. Now, back to the real matter at hand. Ham sounds pretty good too. I haven't had breakfast yet. And yeah, no, take your vegan soy BS somewhere else because I don't care. I eat meat, and you're never going to change that. I eat steak. I would love steak. Which actually ties back to palworld. Last night, I attempted to enslave or capture an enemy on stream. Yesterday, off stream, I caught 2 of them. Today, I sold them to the contraband guy, one of them to the contraband guy because his stats sucked. The game has like probably more flexibility in its morality system than GTA, right? But you can understand why it's not M-rated because there's no prostitution. I mean, not in the sense of Grand Theft Auto. The gun-related violence, there's no blood. 0 blood. And most of the things that you hit, even the people that you shoot with guns in this game just kind of go unconscious. They don't actually die. Like, if you look at their eyes, it's the anime symbol for unconsciousness, basically. It's a little eye swirlies. So you could actually technically say that you fainted them, you didn't actually kill them, or you made them pass out. Or, you could actually be intellectually honest and say, yeah, you killed them. So here's my point. Applying real-world morality to video games is stupid. It is. It is. And I'm not saying that that actually is an overgeneralization, but it's true. Making someone your slave in a video game is not the same as doing it in real life. I would never advocate for anyone making a slave of anyone in real life, and yet there are plenty of games that could be classified as slave-based, I'm sure. That palworld is not the first one to have this as a thing. In-game, I think it's probably going to get them a lot of flack from a lot of oversensitive morons who are so terminally online that they wouldn't know grass if you smacked them in the face with it. They wouldn't know the feeling of sand underneath their feet if you brought it to them in a box of sand. This is how terminally online these people are. Like, you could bring reality to them in their home, and they wouldn't believe that it's reality. Alright, like, literally, you could forcibly show them reality, and they'd clam up. These are the kind of people that have mental illnesses. Alright? So, here's my issue. And apparently my dog likes the fact, that I'm talking, so he wants to come up and be a dog and demand my full attention. My issue is this. A game that makes each person that works for it theoretically $1 million. Again, I had to say theoretically because, business expenses, taxes, blah, blah, blah. Maybe their pay scale at their office doesn't work that way. I don't know how Pocket Pair does their stuff. The point is that as a developer, I don't think they should care too much about negative reviews. And I really don't think they should care too much about what Nintendo has to publicly say about anything. Number one, like I said before, if Nintendo had a case, it would have already been brought. They would already had a cease and desist notice the day that they launched the game. It's been 3 days. Alright? Number two, has anyone ever seen a legitimate Pokemon release on the Xbox or on PC? And I mean one of their main titles here. I'm not talking some fan game or some side game made by Niantic or whoever. I'm talking about Pokemon Scarlet on the Xbox, or Pokemon Red and Green and Blue on the Xbox. I'm talking about bringing the core games over there. You don't have it. So you can't make the argument that they're plagiarizing directly, Pokemon, based on the fact that Pokemon's not available on the platforms that palworld is. And palworld has never once advertised that it's going on to the Nintendo Switch. I wish it would, because I'd buy it there too. And I absolutely think that Nintendo should get a cut of the profits. Yes, 100%. I agree with that statement, because it's a Nintendo Switch. It's their platform. They should have a 10% cut, at minimum. Or, maybe a 2% cut. I don't know how that system works. I haven't released on a console. And I'm debating on whether I should or not, because I'm looking at the numbers on Steam and I'm contemplating, maybe PC really is the way to go as far as making money to start. And then we can have a conversation about releasing onto bigger platforms based off of sales on Steam. Or I could end up with a ghost town of a storefront and not have any sales, because that is highly possible. And no one cares. Just like my YouTube channel right now, the only person watching it is me. No one is watching my channel. I'm aware. This is literally at this point just me trying to make videos to see if I can't get my analytics up. Where within the first 2 months of making this channel, I doubt we're going to go anywhere. Yeah, no. 23 views, 3.6 hours of total watch time. That's sad over the last 28 days. Nah, I'm good. This is not going to be my main profit margin here, right? There's no way. There's no way I'm going to be able to live off of my YouTube channel at those rates. It's just, I'm not even going to get monetized. I have 3 current subscribers. 3. And I've been at it for over a month. It's just, and I get it. Some people it takes longer. Sometimes you have to grind for months. I'm not dumb, I'm not dumb. I should have probably started doing this in the summertime, and it shouldn't have been about gaming. It probably should have been about car repair or doing stuff to vehicles, right? But here we are. That's neither here nor there. That's not what I decided to do. What I decided to do is here. And I have thrown spaghetti at the wall. I made a cooking thing. Oh, really? Is kind of the spaghetti on the wall thing, where it's my personal blog or vlog or whatever you want to call it. Anyway, if you stacked someone else who did better, had the same content I do, up against me, and they had better views, then yeah, there's no point to my channel existing. And that's probably true if we actually did the research and looked it up. You'd find that this channel is completely unnecessary, which is probably why it doesn't see YouTube algorithms at all. That, and it's kind of a newer channel, and I'm sure there's an element of politics involved, given that I'm somewhat right-leaning, and I do have the viewpoint that everyone should be armed if you can. I have the old Viking approach when it comes to weapons. If you're old enough to hold it, you're old enough to learn how to safely use it. The keyword there being safely and responsibly. And if we had that, if everyone had that viewpoint, we'd never have an issue. The problem is that there are people out there who, back in the old westerns, used to push the. There was an episode of The Virginian Way back in the day that there was a teacher pushing that guns shouldn't be a thing. Well, that's nice to live in your little fantasy world of everything's all, sunshine and rainbows. But reality kicks in when you realize guns exist. Because they do. And I'm not going to play this fantasy world game of saying that guns shouldn't exist, because they do exist. And arguing about it is pointless and stupid. And trying to ban them is just as pointless and stupid, because you can ban them for those who want to follow your ban, right? But for the rest of those who don't, probably myself included, who don't give a shit about your ban, are going to keep our property whether you like it or not. And that's just the way that it works. Literally, that's the way that it works. So, I was going to do Palworld. I totally got BFO'd out of that. Courtesy of not upkeeping my Game Pass subscription, which is my fault. You know, it is what it is. I'm sure if I got under my subscription tab and looked, it said, "Hey, we're shutting off services until tomorrow when you get this paid up," which is fine. It is what it is. Like, I wish I could pay it today, but that would require touching the overdraft, which I'm not doing. We're not doing that. Never ever do stuff like that because it's just no, don't do it. It shows a lot of financial irresponsibility, and it shows a lack of self control. It really does. Anyway, back to Palworld for a moment. Good game. I don't know anything about the creators. I know that there's a lot of swirl around their there's a lot of unnecessary rumor mill swirl that you usually get around devs that are going against, that are going against like what Palworld is for because they don't like it because it's a rip-off of certain games. Well, here's a news flash for you. A lot of games are rip-offs of other games. If people were really ticked off about it, Konami, or is it Bandai, I forget whoever's responsible for Ace Combat, and I'm bringing this up, would actually be suing a lot of Flight Simulator people on the Nintendo Switch because there are a lot of flight simulators that are not made by Ace Combat devs that are run almost one-to-one similar as Ace Combat, which is not the standard. The standard is that it has to be direct rip when it comes to that, right? So, are you going to argue that Palworld? It would be hypocritical for Nintendo to try to sue Palworld over Palworld or Pocket Pair over Palworld when they do the same indie ripoff schematic on their own platform. All right, and there are a ton of examples of this. So many examples. Like I said, the flight simulator rips, right? Like, how many of those actually have their licenses from Boeing or or any of the companies that make fighter jets, right? How many of those basic fighter jet designs aren't public domain because they're designs and patents based off of their individual jets, right? If you're going to go there, Nintendo, we can absolutely go there, but it's going to destroy your indie dev market on your own device. Because absolutely, if you're going to put the standard there that this is true for Palworld, it's going to be true for you too. And believe me, people will hold you to it. Like, legally, at this point in time, you will be held responsible and responsive to it. And I'm not talking about Game Freak when I say this. I'm saying Nintendo. And Game Freak works under Nintendo as one of their, what is it? I'm pretty sure Game Freak is actually owned by Nintendo. Don't quote me on that. But I'm pretty sure if I looked it up, you'd probably find that it's probably true. Like how friggin' Microsoft now owns Activision or Blizzard. Oh. It is how it is. You don't have to like it, but you can't create an industry standard and then not be held to it on your own. All right. And you could sit here and say, "Oh, you're lying. There's no way there's games that rip other games off on the Nintendo Switch e-store." Dude, have you looked at the indie games? You're being intellectually dishonest and you're being a dick. Like, the indie developer market does not have the same responsibility as the bigger corporate market to avoid ripping someone else off. Like, it really doesn't. If it did, half of indie games wouldn't exist. Most of your turn-based games would be annihilated because of Final Fantasy. I mean, yeah, it is being dishonest. It is. It's a standard that no one will support. It's a standard that no one will stand behind because they know that if they do, they themselves are going to be held to account for it. Point in fact, on the Xbox, right? Black. Black is not the originator of the Black Ops shooter, but it's one of the older ones out there, and I'm going to use it as an example. You're going to sit here and tell me that Call of Duty Black Ops is not somehow paying homage to Black. It is, and we all know it was, right? But at what point does homage become a ripoff, right? And we could have that discussion too. And yes, you will not see Call of Duty Black Ops on my stuff because hey, look at that. I don't have Call of Duty on here. Do you know why? Because I don't friggin' play it anymore. I stopped playing it back on the 360. Yeah, and you won't catch me playing it unless a friend buys a copy for me and basically bribes me to do it. I'm not going to play it. Yeah, you literally have to commit the crime of bribing me to play that crap game. I'm sorry, but there are games with better stories. And the PvP has been rinse and repeat of the same PvP since basically Modern Warfare 2 and Black Ops 2. And you can sit there and try to argue all the technical BS, but once you get right down to the core of it, it is the same. There are shooters that have done better. And have been innovative. And don't get the notice that Call of Duty does because they don't have the brand power. Sorry. You don't want to hear it, but there's the truth, you know? There are first-person shooters on my list. Destiny 2. I played Destiny 2. Duke Nukem Forever. For what that's friggin' worth. Fallout. Yep, Fallout you could play in first person. Far Cry, you know. Generation Zero. What else? I'm trying to hold strictly to first person as much as I can. That's third person. Darktide. Yep, Darktide and Warface. There you go. There you go. So before you say, oh, you don't play first person shooters, I just showed you the first person shooters on my list. GTFO. Go find someone else to try to complain about in the comments. Oh, Dying Light. Yep, Dying Light totally brushed right over that. The entirety of Doom, which I actually don't have the entirety of Doom on here. I'm missing what? Doom 1, 2, 3, Eternal, Doom 2. Both versions of, well, the 2016 Doom. I'm missing Doom 64, right? So, yeah. All but Doom 64. And that's my fault. Oh, Dead Island. Yep. Nope, totally forgot about Dead Island. Haha. Look at that. How could I forget about Dead Island, one of my favorite zombie games? That's not Resident Evil or, you know, a couple others. Anyway. Let's have a conversation then about palworld. Let's go there. Please do. Please be dumb enough to open up that can of worms and say that it's plagiarism. Because I could show you about 30 different examples on the Xbox alone without going to Nintendo's own eShop, and I could do it. They do it there too. You can do it on the PlayStation Network. You could do it on the PC, especially on the PC, given the amount of freedom and leeway that PC has. Right? Like, if you don't like your stuff not being put on Steam, you can just release it yourself, right? And advertise it to your friends and family on Facebook. Totally. But let's you need to be careful about what standard you try to set for the industry because it's going to come back and bite you in the butt. All right? A lot of your indie games are homages or rip-offs of other titles. And if you don't like it, too bad. Too bad. You have an entire subgenre called what do they call it? Metroidvania. You have an entire dedicated subgenre that is a ripoff of two very large titles. One is specifically a Nintendo title, and the other one isn't. Right? And they're basically really good explorative side scrollers, Castlevania and Metroid. I love Metroid. I love Castlevania. As evidenced by the obvious facts on my, you know, on my owned games list, which by the way, I can play these at any time I own, because we all know how digital media works these days. Is these Konami could have a bird about something I said and say, "Oh, well, you're not going to be able to use that license anymore." So, we're pulling our stuff from Microsoft or whatever, and now you've lost all that money that you've invested in our stuff. Which would be a total dick move that I would say should be legislated out of being a possibility. I think once you have paid for something, that company should be absolutely responsible for making sure that you have access to it. Period. Like whether they like it or not. And I agree with the same thing when it comes to this title too, and Destiny 1, which only doesn't show up here because I don't have it downloaded. To anyone saying that, oh, there's no way you played Destiny from blah, blah, blah. You're funny. You're funny. Yeah, okay, let's go. Let's find it. We'll go down here. We'll pick apart that argument before it even comes up. Alright, I'm not going to re-download it. We'll go into the club. Okay. Go over to social. Nope, progress. Alright, number 1, my achievement score is under 400 points away from having all achievements. My hours, I have 95 days in Destiny 1. Over 95. Okay? I rank 28 out of 98 friends on Destiny 1. On Grimoire score. On time played, I'm 11 out of 107 of my friends. Okay? Like, yeah, don't go there. Do not go there. Okay? I played Destiny. I got my money's worth out of Destiny 1. And I will say that. I don't have it downloaded because I have Destiny 2. Which I also don't play anymore. I'm going to say that. I will say that, yes. The only way my friends can get me to say this, to play this game, which has even more time on it than Destiny 1, right? My character is 8 years old. I just don't friggin' play it. I don't play it. I have other games. Like, look at my home screen right here. Do you see a Destiny title? Palworld, Remnant, Warframe, YouTube, Fallout 4, Fallout New Vegas, Path of Exile. I don't know why Gotham Knights is there. I have never played that myself, and I really don't want it there. Like, and I don't know how to remove stuff from this. I don't even think you can. Oh, and my internet browser, because I use it to watch anime and read manga. So, here's the thing. Don't come to me griping and complaining, Nintendo and Game Freak. Don't come crying to us, the consumers, who actually pay for your game. We're not talking about your 2.5 or 5 point whatever million fan base. We're talking about the consumers that make up your first-time purchase market. Don't come to us complaining when we played Scarlet and Violet and fell through the map, alright, and had to reset our switches entirely. Don't come complaining to us about palworld for doing something that you didn't think of doing, because you didn't think to do it, just because they're using cute little critters in their game like you did, and Digimon did, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Did, and every other creature card capture game out there. I'm sorry that you feel butthurt because they're supplanting you in the market, but you opened the door for them to do this by giving us one innovative title over the last, 10 years, which was Arceus. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings, but any United States judge is going to tell you the same thing. Unless you can prove that they ripped an asset 1-to-1. Sorry. You're SOL. And that's why Digimon's a thing. Pokemon's still a thing. Well, Pokemon obviously is a thing anyway. Yu-Gi-Oh's still a thing, because while they didn't rip your stuff one-to-one, right? Even Yu-Gi-Oh! Capsule Monsters was a thing for an amount of time, so before you say, well, the Yu-Gi-Oh's a trading card game. Dude, Capsule Monsters was a thing, so was Dungeon Dice Monsters, so what? Did the makers of D&D get to crack down on Konami for making Dungeon Dice Monsters? No, it's a completely different game. It plays a completely different way. It's the same thing with palworld and Pokemon. It has some similar elements to Pokemon. Pokemon's turn-based. palworld is a third-person shooter that allows you to capture and summon critters to fight for you alongside you when you're shooting your gun, crossbow, bow, or using a spear. Which to the palworld devs, a sword, please, for the love of God, swords and sword skills, man. Please. Probably the only thing I could beg for at this point. Otherwise, I don't see a problem with the game. The only real people who have a gripe against palworld is going to be the dev, Wildcard, that made Arc. Or, I could be wrong. It probably wasn't Wildcard, but it could be right. I don't know. The point is that there's only really one other dev out there that makes these kind of games, and the only other group of people who made a game similar to this was Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Okay? You could have an argument that it is a rip on Tears of the Kingdom because of all the mechanics that are similar. Right? You could. Sure. Why not? You can go there. But don't fart in my face and say it's perfume, please. If you're going to call one thing out for plagiarism, we need to have a wider discussion about what plagiarism actually is. Okay? You know, it's just not... You're not going to get the outcome that you think you will if you think that this is going to be a legally substantive case. You're going to have a lot of blowback from a lot of people, okay? Mostly PC gamers, decent number of them on console too, okay? On two platforms that you don't even participate in because you want them to go by your system with your game. That does not ring true to me legally. That sounds like someone who is throwing a little hissy fit temper tantrum because they're not playing with me. They're not playing my game on my system. I'm going to throw a boo-hoo fit in the corner. That's what that sounds like. Alright? I'm going to throw the biggest temper tantrum I can and try to sue anyone who does anything with this game. Blah, blah, blah. That is not protecting your IP. That is being a spoiled little brat because you've been spoiled to everyone buying your friggin' game. Don't like my opinion? Too bad. That's my opinion. I live in the States. I don't live in Japan. You can't do squat about my opinion. You can post as many cease and desist orders as you want out of your country. I don't live in your country, so good luck enforcing it. Just outright gonna call you on that, and I will call your bluff. You don't have to like it. Too bad. And all you Pokey stands out there, before you say, oh, you're not a Pokemon fan, I have a little something to show you. Okay? Despite the fact, and you know what, before you say I'm not a Nintendo fan, let's see here. I have, and these are just physical copies, right? Alright. So only one of these can't be directly attributed to Nintendo themselves, right? That's Crash Insane Trilogy, right? Let's see, we've got Tears of the Kingdom, Skyward Sword, Pokemon Scarlet, Pokemon Sword, Pokemon Legends Arceus, Pokemon Shining Pearl. Before you say I'm not a Pokemon fan, remember, I have these. I have Pokemon Go and Pokemon Home. And before you say I'm not a Nintendo fan, you can add Metroid Prime Remaster to that friggin' list. And there's more to come, because once I have the money, there are more Nintendo titles I intend to buy. So, here's the thing. You can sit there and you can make that argument, sure. You're being dishonest, given that I just showed you how dishonest you are, as I have every Switch released Nintendo game, and the only reason I don't have 3DS games and Nintendo games is because I don't have a 3DS anymore. I sat on it years ago in college and just never had the money to replace it. Yeah, you don't need to see that again. I did that on accident. Here's the thing. I like Pokemon. I like all their games, even with their problems, including Scarlet, and me having to restart my whole Nintendo Switch because the whole thing crapped out because I fell through a map. Okay? Like, black screen would not go to home. I had to hard reset. Alright? Even with that, I still like Scarlet. I can dog crap on Scarlet for its glitches, but I could also sing its praises because it's a good game, right? The only reason that Nintendo and Pokemon's devs, Game Freak, are having such a royal little temper tantrum about this is because it's something that they didn't want to do, and they didn't want anyone else to do. They didn't want anyone to equate guns with Pokemon, which is kind of a fallacy, really, because there's guns in the anime. In the first season of the anime. You know, literally, Palworld is so popular because it gave the people what they wanted and did not go on this little irrational tangent. I'm talking with my hand over here, and I'm also realizing my camera angle's bad. So I'm probably going to have to fix that later today anyway. Or I could do it right now in midstream, which would be totally disruptive and just generally not a good idea for a YouTuber to do. But I will get the stuff prepped to fix it anyway. Yeah, I'm using 3M strips on the back of my non-laptop monitor, heads up. Which is not exactly, even remotely, an ideal setup. Like, idealistically, it would have its own boon arm. And would be... Oh, no, you can't really... There we go. And there. Now it's the way that I wanted it. Yeah. Adjusting midstream. I know. Bad thing to do, right? But anyway, now that we've got this set up right, let's have this conversation here. Pokemon had never had any intention of actually bringing guns into the game, and we know that for a fact because they've said as much in the past. And now my camera's not level. I'll deal with that later. Pokemon never intended to appeal to a Western audience and bring survival mechanics like hunger and sleep and making your Pokemon do more work than just showing up on a jobs forum, disappearing for a day, right? The party system is different for Pokemon because in Palworld you actually have to go to your Pal location, your base location, to swap them out. You are stuck with 5, not 6. Like Pokemon is the 6 number in that. You're stuck with 5 in Palworld. Alright? I wish they would go bigger. I wish we could have 7, actually. I really do. Because there's a lot of travel pals in this game. You have a bird that can fly. You have a horse that can run. You have a serpent that can go through the water. You probably have more than that I'm not even thinking of, you know? Beside that, like... I think there's a train running today. But I can't see through the trees well enough to make that distinction. Anyway, I keep hearing rumbling in the background, and it's enough to make you go mad. You're not going to be able to get the legal result that you want because of how many differences there are from Palworld to your own titles, okay? And the devs' willingness to take $10,000 and a handful of people compared to your billions and billions of dollars and probably hundreds of people and gave an audience what it wanted, and your lack of willingness to do that is why palworld is making its money. It's not because it's ripping on your critters. They probably could have made the critters look completely like Digimon and had the same result. I mean that. Probably could have had a better result, actually. And actually, yeah, you can make the argument, not Pokemon, Digimon. The cat with shorts with guns for hands versus the tall electric critter that can use a grenade launcher. I mean, it's not a 1-to-1, but there's similarities there too. You're not going to knock down palworld because of that. If you knock down palworld, Digimon and the rest of them have to go too. All right? And you're never going to achieve the standard that you think you're going to achieve because it's just not going to happen. Like, unless you can prove that they ripped an asset, which has already been proven to be a false claim on Twitter, right? You can go look at the community notes that are probably now attached to it, assuming they didn't delete the tweet, which most people that are responsible for that kind of thing do. They either delete it or they private it, the usual crap, right? And yeah, I mean, it is what it is. You don't have to Nintendo doesn't have to like any of this. But there it is. Pokestands don't have to like it either. And I would consider myself in that group of Pokestands. But you know what? I like both. Sorry. Don't like it too bad. That's not you, that's me. That's your problem. Go cope and seethe in a corner. I'm going to be one of the probably billion people that's probably going to play this friggin' game because it goes places Nintendo refused to go. So, ask me if I care about your opinion again. The answer's still going to be no. Answer's always going to be no, because I really don't care about opinions that much. Not really. Nah. YouTube's not even my main source of income. It never was supposed to be. It's something that I do on the side as kind of a gag. I play video games at home. I make video games in my spare time as a hobby. I do other things to make money, and I have people who make money alongside me, so, cope and seethe, cope and seethe, cope and seethe is all you can do. It is all you can do. It's all you're ever going to be able to do. And the moment you try to take it past that, I'll be there with the fact hammer and the ban hammer both to slap you in the head. Metaphorically speaking. And every other YouTube content creator out there, and every other Twitter content creator out there, and every other person out there who's just generally right needs to start taking that attitude. I'm sorry, but catering to you morons who think that you're right about some stupid little minutia about AI art. Yeah, sure, a computer has to rip off inspiration from other artists. So do 90% of so-called artists out there. Find me an original artwork. Go ahead. Try it. Art has been around so long. Yeah, good luck. I'm sure someone will make a sculpture of my fat, hairy, you-know-what sack, and they'll find another sculpture in Mesopotamia somewhere that some podunk person did of another person's scruffy you-know-what sack that looks identical. Who friggin' cares? No one. Zero. Zilch. Nada. And the few people that claim to care, if you really put them up to it, they wouldn't care either. If you really put them to it and you really sat down and showed them, hey, palworld is $30, Pokemon is almost $90 with the DLC, they're going to sit there and say, well, gee, I could play palworld for $30, or I could pay 3 times as much to play Pokemon Scarlet or Violet with the DLC. Well, average consumer speaking, not a Pokestan, I'm going to go with the cheaper option that's still fun to play, which is palworld. Duh. Now, if you're a Pokemon fan, you're probably going to pay for both. Like I am going to do. I'm going to pay for this game. I did not pay for Ark while it was still in game preview mode. I paid for it after the fact. I did not pay for Craftopia. I played it on Game Pass. Enjoyed it, actually. I don't understand the big kerfuffle over why it sucks so bad. It's not actually that horrible. It's just a survival game. Big whoop. You know? Palworld has shattered records on Steam. And it's the same developer as Craftopia. I don't know about this AI art imposter. You know? I would check it out before I made a judgment. If it's a game where you have to pick which one the imposter is, the artificial intelligence versus a real person, I think that could be quite fun depending on how it's set up. You know, heck, I'm kind of jealous I didn't think of something like that sooner. Put two pieces of art next to each other with the title down below, and you have to pick which one you think is the real thing, and you get a point for if it's real, and you lose a point for if it's fake. You know, there you go. Put some obvious examples in the first one, you know, like the Mona Lisa and whatnot. And as a gag, you could... I'm not going to say that one. YouTube would ban the video. Never mind. Yeah. But those adults out there whose brains went there know what I was going to say. So I don't even have to say it. But, like, yeah, no. AI is inevitably going to overtake certain creative aspects of the market. And the problem that we have here is we have these little fanboys that are going to come to the defense of the artist. Well, I'm going to say something, I'm going to regurgitate something that someone said here. It was Asman earlier. You know, adapt or GTFO. AI is a tool. Learn to use it. Or, sorry, but you're just going to end up surpassed. Just like the line workers in the automotive industry, they all lost their jobs way back in the day. Just like the telephone operator, that is a very rare position to see in the modern time, if it even exists at all. Just like, what else am I missing here? Every time we've had a technical advancement, jobs have disappeared. And you know what? People do the same thing. They groan and they moan because people are losing their jobs. And then they just go out and buy the product anyway. So, like, really, just how much does that opinion really stand up? It doesn't. It really doesn't, and it never will. We all know it won't. It's going to be the same moaning and groaning from the same people who whined and complained back in the day about the car industry. They whined and complained about the advancement of phones. They whined and complained about, you know, well, actually, I don't think anyone complained about the loss of payphones. I'm pretty sure that one, the cell phone was just so good that the payphone became obsolete kind of on its own and no one cared. So that's probably not a good example, but, like, no one complained about handheld consoles replacing other handheld gaming consoles. You know, as technology improved, they groaned and complained because they had to rebuy games, or they had to buy games all over again, or they couldn't play their games, and backward compatibility has always been an issue with games in general that aren't PC games, right? Because PC, I feel like PC has some phasing out issues, but not as many. Like, you can adapt older games to work on modern systems fairly easily, and some of those games you can get for really cheap, or in some cases, I'm sure, free. And I'm not talking about the illegal pirate method. I'm not going to go all, argh, shiver me timber over, you know, Zork. I don't think anyone is really that worried about paying 50 cents to get eaten by a grue. You know, it's just a fact. Just a fact. You know. But say what you will about AI, it's just the next phase. So this guy who's the game dev coming out and supporting AI, he's just jumping on a bandwagon. And if it flopped, it flops. Who cares? If it flops, there's going to be some moron on Twitter who's going to be all, ha ha, you supported this horrible thing that ended up flopping, blah blah blah. In reality, do you think that he's going to even read that tweet? Because it's probably not even going to be in Japanese, which is his own spoken language. It's probably going to be some English loser who literally lives in his mother's basement and has mold growing in between his fat folds because he hasn't left his chair in like months. And is getting served Hot Pockets and friggin' lean cuisine meals because he doesn't do anything for himself. He doesn't cook, he doesn't clean, he doesn't do nothing. Like, these are the kind of people that comment this stuff on Twitter. They're not real people. They're either bots or they have no life. They have no relevance on society. And to those that claim that they're artists, hey, good for you. You know what? I'm a writer. I haven't released a book yet. So, I mean, you're about at the same level as that comment. And to those who have published works, you're few and far between. Congratulations, you pass. Good for you. No one cares. Still no one cares. Like, I literally just decimated every demographic that's going to go against this viewpoint in general. Because, you know, the one that passed the test are still wasting their time on Twitter instead of making art. They're still on my comment section bitching about my video. They're still in my DM, well, not my DMs. I don't let anyone in my DMs that's not family or friend or immediate friends because those are mine. Or it's business. You know, you're not going to get my DMs. But you're on, like, my Facebook and you're whining and complaining to someone who's literally just going to give you 2 middle finger emojis and a laugh for your comment because I don't care. You're good for a laugh. You're good for a chuckle. And that's it. That's all that it's going to be, and that's my attitude. And it will remain my attitude moving forward. If you don't like my opinions, go somewhere else, because no one cares. Anyone who watches this is watching this because they care about what I say, not what you say. So, sorry. Cope and seethe. Cope and seethe. Because it's all you can do. You know, again, back to that line. You're going to keep coping and seething until you realize that you wasted your time. And I hope eventually your mental illness clears enough to where you can realize that you spent so much time coping and seething, you could have done something productive with your life. You know, like gone out and mowed the grass instead of just touching it and letting your mom's lawn get like 2 feet tall. You know, just saying. I'm gonna go there, you know. Go out and learn how to fix your lawnmower. Go out and learn a trade, learn a skill. Don't go to college. It's a waste of money. And if you do go to a college that actually teaches a real skill or a trade, like HVAC, automotive, welding, you know, some sort of medical profession. I'd even argue cooking, actually. Yeah, being a cook or a chef, go be the next best chef. Make Hot Pockets look bad. Stop eating Hot Pockets. And before I get any gripers in there asking me what's wrong with Hot Pockets, there's a lot wrong with Hot Pockets, actually, and I enjoy them on the regular. I want to be honest about it. I eat them on the regs. Not daily, but like maybe, twice a month. Sometimes more, depends on the money that I have available to me for food. They're a quick, easy, I can throw it in the microwave and go do what I need to do. You know, I don't have to think about marinating a steak, melting butter to go in the pan with like garlic and yada 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 to infuse the butter with actual flavors. And then pour it in the pan, put all my seasonings in with the steak, cook it to everyone's personal preference of medium rare versus my fully cooked. You know, a Hot Pocket, you throw it in the microwave, you push a couple of buttons and walk away. Alternatively, you know, you could go totally, you don't have to do what I do with a steak. You can very quickly cook a steak. I mean, there's nothing wrong with just slapping a piece of meat in a pan with some oil and letting it cook, flipping it a couple of times and eating it. I mean, hey, why not, right? If it's to your standard and you like it, like, whatever. I just have a higher standard when it comes to my steak. Just like I have a lower standard or expectation when it comes to video games, you know? I will sit here and play the first Super Mario World over Call of Duty. Take that as you may. Take that information with whatever grain of salt you see is necessary, because it is true. I would rather play Super Mario than Call of Duty. You know, Call of Duty has released so many friggin' games that have been so cookie cutter and BS. Just general, like, rinse and repeat stuff. That it just is what it is. And that look was because I saw one of the weeks on my fiance's work schedule. So, I'm enjoying this this little rant session, but I think we're going to call it. This has been O'Reilly, Zero speaking. Anyone who doesn't agree with this can comment on it. If you agree with it, comment on it. Get in my comments. Subscribe. Hit that like button, you know. Hit the dislike button. Some sort of engagement is nice. You know. At this point in time, I have so few subscribers and so few viewers that even bad interactions would be preferred to none. So, hopefully everyone has a lovely day. It's a very icy day here in New England, and I would very much like it if the sun could melt all the ice away. But, hopefully the rest of the world is not experiencing this problem. Shout out to people in Russia who have to deal with this on the daily basis. And if you're a polar bear in Antarctica, I want to understand how you learned how to use a computer, because that amuses me. Have a lovely